welcome back to On the Ear. I'm Cosmos. Today with me I have Stylo, Unity, Nova, Eclipse, and Inertia. Woo! Yeah.
Woo!
That is.
Woo! Applaud ourselves.
Yes, applaud us.
So today, in honor of Spooktober, which has passed, we are going to be reading our spooky, scary stories.
And NaNoWriMo.
And other
yes.
stories that we just wrote in our spare time.
Yeah, they're not all spooky.
Because we have no lives.
Alright. So, first up to bat, will she swing or miss? Unity!
It'll probably hit me in the face. Yeah, I'm Unity. Hi. I'm going to be reading a promo for my horror story that I wrote for LA class, which is called Mindless Matters. So there's a guy, and he's a bad guy, but he's kind of like mentally unstable because he kills people.
Oh, mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like he starts doing self-harm.
We want to.
And then he tries to find an old like coworker, I guess, that used to kill for him, to have the coworker help him so that he doesn't keep hurting himself. And then he walks into the coworker's house and he's dead, so he kills himself. The end.
What?
I feel like that could have been a really heartfelt story, and you just like completely.
I was just summing it up.
Okay, go ahead, go read.
Yeah, this is the promo. Turmoil's twisting through the woods. Screech, creak, snap. Blood drips down to soil the goods, wind kicking up with a slap. He ran through the night, panic ensuing. His mind is in need of rescuing. The void opens up, wholly terrifying. The truth hides in the dark, completely lying. A nameless man, a faceless man. An aimless man is a shameless man. Save himself he must. Too much damage had been done. Slicing through the flesh with a thrust, his riding mind he must outrun. A destination arrives, hope shimmering off like gleaming knives. He knocks the door in, entering the house, every room empty to his chagrin, mental demons playing cat and mouse. The last room he checked, covered in blood, a body he must inspect, heart falling with a thud. His last chance, last opportunity, laying in a death trance, his mind losing immunity. The blades in the drawers, making themselves known, his mind fighting many wars. He sinks the knife in, up to the bone, taking away the chance for his mind to dance around the death intertwined with himself.
It even rhymes.
Are we just snapping them? No clapping? We clapped for ourselves.
I love how it's a
We're not
poem, though.
fans. Alright.
Story is called Not So Lonely Tom.
Oh, lonely.
It's about this dude named Tom who has schizophrenia.
Oh.
And yeah.
I have it. Our next reader is
Cosmos.
but the story is Stylo's.
Stylo's story is Not So Lonely Tom. Tom. It's louder in his room. The sounds are so close. He opens the door a few times, expecting to see someone pawing at the doorknob, but he sees nothing but an empty hallway. He shoves on his headphones and turns his music up high at a desperate attempt to drown out the horror, but it does nothing but give him a headache, and doesn't completely drown out the sounds. The guitar playing in the background of frenzied screams sounds quite unnatural, like he's stuck inside a slasher film. He can't stand it. Tom closes his eyes. He knows he won't ever be able to sleep when he can hear people in pain and agony just in the apartments around him, regardless of whether they were real. It was nice just laying there on his mattress, staring up at his ceiling accompanied by the glow-in-the-dark stars on it, unaware of whether the cold he feels is from the fear or the frigid night air that is coming through his open window. Looking at his glow-in-the-dark stars makes him think of happier times, when he was a kid, when things were simpler and he didn't have to deal with such things. That was a much better time. He tries to distract himself with something, anything, but nothing works. The screams overcome everything, even his thoughts, and so he sits, swaddled in tons of warm blankets to stave off the ice coldness he feels in his chest, and waits for all the shrieks to stop.
Yeah.
Okay, that was good. It was very intense.
Nova.
I'm reading Conscience. Amelia's face is gray and slack, her skin glowing yellow in the dim light, her body crumpled and still on the cold concrete floor. Her mouth hangs open, limp, a sticky line of crimsons trickling from the corner. Red blood, dark, dark red, blossoms on her shirt. Her eye twitches. I freeze. Her innocent, dead stare pinning me to the wall. Then there is Jackson, a ring of light shining on his trusting gaze, and Anne, an accusatory glare in her one eye, red pulling from the other, and Maybelle, and Owen, and Sal, and there are dead bodies everywhere, clinging to me, hands clutching to my clothing, my hair, my blood-stained palms. They swarm, filling the space, silent, monotone, purposeless. Then Robin. Robin is there, her thin hair and light hands. Her eyes are brown mirrors. She calms me. I am calm. I am safe. Until she disappears. Robin leaves me. Robin. The mass swallows me. The weight of the bodies crush me into the floor. The floor, wet with my tears and their blood.
Ooh, that was good.
That was a really good story.
This is
Okay.
Eclipse.
Okay,
Yeah, so-
this is a special story that is written by
Unity,
Unity. Yes.
It is
It's
not
joke.
meant to be serious.
Yep.
This is one of the stories that is not, in fact, terrifying unless you are horrified of Barney. If so, that seems like a personal problem that you may need to work out. So,
Thump, thump, thump. Footsteps creaked down the hall of our cabin, me and the other girls hiding farther under our blankets. This was the closest the footsteps had come, and they didn't sound like they were slowing. The camp that I had been shipped to for part of the summer had been fun, but at night someone had been walking around. The heavy footsteps daunting in the dark, all of us too scared to see who it was. Finally, the footsteps stopped, right outside of our door. The hinges creaked as the door opened, the dim light flickering on moments later. And, oh my god, it was Barney! Hi, kids! He said with a suspiciously happy smile. We're like 16, one of the girls said. Barney turned to her, still smiling. He didn't look fake. His dimples formed from the stress of his smile. Skin unlike a costume in every way. I felt like I was losing my mind. Barney somehow smiled even wider, little sharp teeth poking out. They reminded me of a chihuahua's teeth, because that's what they were. Yeet, am I right? Haha, not so basic now. I'm just a mood, so shook at my ox. I got all this cheddar dough. How lit is that? I gotta skeet skirt and get rid of these salty camp girls. I snatched that thirsty girl in cabin 3A last night, along with her flying wig. Yee yeet YOLO. I won't be no emo bae, but dem lashes be on fleek. At least they ain't no noob. And I throwing that shade. Yeet. I got some dope bodies hidden under my tunge. I need to yeet them underground in a few. LOL. Rip in peace, my fellow dudes. He said all in one breath, no one daring to speak as this monster bore down on us.
it's not complete, but yeah. That was a work in progress.
Dope.
Oh my god, it was Barney!
We are sorry if you were severely scared by that story.
Sure.
Okay, I'm Nova, and I'm going to read my story, and it's not scary.
Do you want to share the title?
Oh yeah, and I called it Snorkeling. It was such a beautiful day. I remember the pebbles crunching beneath the wheels of our rental car as we rolled up to Kahaluu Park in Kona, Hawaii. How the beach itself was small and gravelly, the minuscule parking lot overflowing with cars. I remember Mom ordering us to put on sunscreen, the beach turning into an expansive flat, black lava formation, leading right out into the crystalline teal water. I remember the waters abundant with fish, the schools of lemon yellow angelfish flashing by. I remember leaving our water shoes at the lava formation and replacing them with awkward flippers and snorkel masks, and cautiously slipping into the water. I remember how graceful the flippers were gliding through the shallow, clear water. It was so warm, subdued waves lapping at us. Dad and my little brother were looking for resting green sea turtles on land. Fish and coral of all colors were around us. I remember pointing excitedly at each new fish to my sister and mom, some spotted, others bright. A magical moment. It is a piece of time ingrained in my head, a memory suspended timelessly forever in my mind. It felt like the world was so big and expanseful, and held so much to experience. That moment was like music, each note painfully beautiful and true, that melody that catches the words in your throat. We aren't given enough time that we can afford to forget or confine memories to the backs of our minds. Each fragment of time is a little gem entrusted to us, to allow us to see its true beauty and learn from it, to grow.
Wow. This is not a poem.
So now we have an especially gory story written by our dear Cosmos. Prepare yourselves.
My story is quite gory. So it begins with this man who used to be a murderer. In fact, in Unity's story, her main character goes to visit my character and finds him dead.
What?
Yeah,
So-
they're connected.
So my main character,
That's why he's dead.
Wilfred, he used to murder people and then he would eat their bodies to get rid of the evidence.
That's why
You
my
know?
character liked him. By the way, my character doesn't have a name, so that's why I keep saying my character.
Nice. So Wilfred believes that he saw someone from his past and thus gets terrified, and so he gets paranoid and goes insane and loses his sanity, and he accidentally slaps his son, and his son knocks into the sharp corner of like a dresser and cracks his skull open. Wilfred is mortified, but at the same time he can't resist but have one small tiny little morsel of blood. And then he goes insane, he eats his son, he kills his wife, eats her, and then he kills his cat, eats the cat, and then this is a while after he has eaten pretty much every inhabitant in his household, and he is not faring well. Viewer discretion is advised. Iron cloaked my senses day and night, especially as I watched the ruby culprit of this assault on my senses drip, drip, drip from my 2 short nails. I had been gnawing at them with a hysterical frenzy that showed no sign of letting up. Again and again I bit, only to stop and marvel at the fine droplets of blood that dared to show themselves. Night and day I would suck on my fingers, growing a liking to the coppery tang of my blood. It was like consuming pennies or quarters. I was getting rich off my own blood. I liked that image, and it spurred the already blazing fire within. No nail sat in the nail bed where it should be. It was gone, facing the harsh conditions of my stomach, but it wasn't enough for me. Panic laced my every breath, waxing and waning in tandem with my pulsing headaches, in tandem with the swirls of dizzy delirium that refused to let me walk upright. Soon, I'd die very soon. Sooner, if I didn't eat. Merely stumbling around the kitchen, that was what I was doing when another streak of brilliance thundered through me. Myself. I could eat. Myself. How stupid was I to not realize this sooner? What better way was there to leave this world other than by my own means? The butcher's knife was close, so very close, its weight comfortably heavy in my hand. I readied myself, so astoundingly excited that the knife quivered and quaked in my hand with the full force of my anticipation. 1. I rose the blade. 2. It began lowering with unstoppable speed. 3. Thunk! The knife's force reverberated through my body as it hit the cutting board, going clean through my left forearm. Blood sprayed violently, coating the counter, flinging small droplets into my watery eyes. Numbness fringed the edges of my left elbow, wet and sticky with the fresh blood. It tingled slightly, but it was nothing in comparison to the pure, unbridled ecstasy that roiled through my coursing veins. Quickly finding some discarded fabric, I wrapped it tightly around my arm to staunch the bleeding. I couldn't feast if I bled out, of course. Careful not to slip on the scarlet puddle, I edged my way to the pantry. Each breath was a labored and vehement beast that attempted to rein in the thunderous hooves of my heart. I grabbed varying bottles of spices, trying not to drop them all from my convulsing hand. They clattered and clinked on the granite counter, rolling around in the blobs of ruby blood that flecked about like a macabre Pollock piece. Taking my left arm, I began rubbing in the spices, massaging the soft flesh tenderly. My stomach growled impatiently. Excited. So very excited. After an eternity of seasoning my arm, I lobbed it in the blender, anticipation throbbing through my too tight veins. Haphazardly, I placed the lid on it and turned the blender on. It whirred and crackled and hummed like a hive of malicious bees stirring up a pot of pebbles. There was a soft overlay on it, the sound of flesh being sliced and squelched in the sharp blades of the blender. Vibrant red mixed with white and flesh gray pink to make it a vicious paste dotted with bits of bone. Some unnoticed roll dripped into the irony blend, swirling with the blood that oozed out on the top. Unable to restrain myself, I grabbed the blender, dumping it back into my mouth. A fair sum made it into my mouth, but some dribbled to the side, escaping onto the once white floors. I greedily swallowed it, chugging it to the point of near sickness. Every mouthful was rich beyond measure, $1 million worth of corpulent flavor in each petite taste I graced. Bone shards scraped and scratched my throat with ivory talons, bringing a burning itch to the back of my throat. Before I even began to truly be satisfied, it was over. Gone. No, I couldn't have eaten it all. Could I? Panic and sorrow seized my chest, welding a tight pain to my forehead. It can't be gone, I screamed to myself, every word hoarse and painful, opening the cuts in my throat until I felt the blood trickle down. I began clawing at my sandpaper throat with my one hand, trying to open it so that the droplets of blood wouldn't drown me from the inside out. Frustration and ravenous anger burned in my stomach, evaporating the feast I had just enjoyed, the jubilation that had run wildly through my intestinal tract. Moaning and wailing, I slumped to the floor, breaths frozen between hearty sobs and blood-soaked coughs. It, my mind, my but-a-bum-bum heart, would savagely flip between determined anger and panicked sorrow. Gnashing my teeth wildly, I bit my lip, intrigued by the blood that flowed. Delicious. I was so delicious. I brought a remaining finger to my mouth and bit down no harder than one would a carrot, and began laughing, awkwardly. The finger was lodged in my mouth, disconnected from its brethren, ready to join the rest of what I had consumed. I continued until every finger was gone, and all that remained were coppery stumps drenched in crimson. This was so much better than any rap from Pré-à-Manger. Shrill, content laughter was still ringing through the house as I laid my head down to sleep, a flesh-flecked smile ingrained on my face. Sleep came heavy and easy, a little too much so.
What happened to his legs?
He died before he could do that. All right. Thank you, listeners, for listening to that. I'm sorry that you had to hear that last one, but not really. Well, it's been fun. This is On the Ear, and we are now off the ear.